Surviving Sister Wives contains adult content that may not be suitable for Latter-day Saints or sinners. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Sister Wives.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly, and we are continuing our reading of Becoming Sister Wives. This time we've moved on to the celebrity section of the book, which should be very exciting.
Part 4, Celebrity. This is going to be Meri's chapter 13 and Janelle's chapter 14. If that sounds confusing and you're wondering where chapters 11 and 12 are, we did drop an extra episode at the end of last week, so make sure you go back one episode if you were expecting to hear those ones. We're going to be double dipping the next few weeks here to make sure that we finish out the book before the new season of Sister Wives. We have to make room for Christine's book, Sister Wife. How many times did I say Sister Wives?
This is
or
so
Sister
confusing.
Wife?
So there's Becoming Sister Wives, there's Sister Wives, the show, and now there's Sister Wife, the book, and My Sister Wife's Closet.
And Seeking Sister Wife, not to be confused with. And they should also do a spinoff called Surviving Sister Wives. That seems to be the general consensus, even though nobody else has Googled that to see if that name is taken.
We'll sue.
I don't think we have the grounds to sue, but okay.
Maybe cut that part. Now I'm nervous. Anyway, well, I think we're going to finish this book this week.
Oh my God.
Are you seeing how many pages are clutched in your hand still? We're almost there.
We're getting close. Yeah. So I think we have the Christine and then Robin part, and then there's a Kody epilogue.
We'll decide whether or not it's interesting enough.
I guess we'll see.
What does he have to say? We'll see if we want to acknowledge it. Because we want to move on to Christine's book because we have it in hand. We were able to purchase it at Barnes & Noble a little bit early, which means our recaps will start right away.
Carly's already been reading through it. I haven't started yet because I don't want to contaminate or cross-pollinate or
I'm going to make some comments. I've read half the book. So as I was looking through these chapters, there were a couple of things that stood out to me that Christine commented about in the new book. And so I may sprinkle them in as we go.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm going with an untainted view here of the original book, and then we'll be able to make an assessment for the next iteration of the book. But chapter 13, Meri's celebrity. Did we get a lot of celebrity stuff? This seemed like more of just coming out as polygamists and living publicly and telling people who are close to them in their lives about being a polygamous person.
I kind of think that they were going to name the chapter Coming Out, and then somebody had to tell them that they couldn't subvert that they should probably name it something else.
I have decided to name it Loud and Proud because that's what we're doing. We're living loud and proud.
Maybe Notoriety would be a better name for it.
Infamy.
Well, that's what it's gone down as, that's for sure. So Meri, of course, everybody's section starts out about how they're very private and they've not previously told anyone about being polygamous, which is obviously a requirement for then going public.
A lot of Meri's descriptors for who she is as a person. I had very few friends. Well, she says outside her faith, but I think we can probably stop that sentence.
That's just general.
A little bit earlier. Yeah, not even outside the faith. Not a lot of friends.
The friends inside the faith didn't last long.
The friends inside the faith were few and far between as well. And then Meri's also quite guarded. She doesn't open up to people. Her main goal was just to be accepted as a normal person, whatever that means. There's a lot of insecurity just all through this because she's wanting people to accept her. It's this fear of rejection for
being
her
who
belief.
she is.
Yeah, and who she is.
To be fair, let's think about Meri. I think she has faced a lot of rejection for, I guess, other elements of who she naturally is as a person.
She literally said, quote, "I didn't want to be judged." And I think I highlighted that twice in this chapter, that same exact sentence. At two different parts. I don't even know if she realized she duplicated it.
No one edited this book. I'm convinced of it.
Very judgment averse. They do not want to be judged. So why not live life as a public figure then. You don't face any judgment or harsh criticisms or anything like that.
You know what I appreciate about Meri's chapters? She really does go chronologically, which is why she has the most to say of everyone.
If she were writing a student film, her script would start with an alarm clock going off in the morning.
She goes right back to the origin story, the very beginnings. Because we have to hear the same thing that she's already said about, we know that you guys pretended to be sisters when you went out in public.
Sisters. It's the easiest cover story to have because, again, Janelle is Kody's stepsister. So that's the easiest thing to remember. Meri, on the other hand, it's a little weird. Kody was a little too into it. Kind of went Joe Dirt about it, you know?
Sometimes he brought it up at home, in the bedroom. No, he's doing a lot of other things in the bedroom that involve massage oils.
Oh, God.
That gets exposed. Prepare yourself for it mentally right now. You got to start working on that before you crack the spine on that book.
Oh, Christine's new book?
Yep.
I didn't know there were going to be Diddy references here, but I guess that's something we have to prepare for now. Don't worry, he'll get a pardon. It's okay.
So they don't want to be known as polygamists. They can't be known. That's really the bottom line, is that they don't want to be judged by other people. They're afraid of not just the judgment, but the ramifications of coming out as polygamists.
Meri has heard many, many stories about fathers in polygamous families who were sent to jail. So that was Christine's story, her grandfather who was sent to jail. And then also heard some stories about children taken from their families and other wives sent to live in different states, which that's kind of Robin's experience, but she was just more...
She went with the kids.
And she was like the rejected secondary family. That was like the out-of-state family.
Oh, I thought you meant her in her adulthood, because she did take her children and move them to another state.
No, that is true at one point.
Repeating pattern in her life, perhaps.
Yeah, and like, is that something that she internalized? That's how she deals with the struggles here. But they were trying to say that nothing was going to split up their family, except COVID or, general...
dislike for each other, rules, one biggie house.
Protocols.
Robin
Mostly.
Robin, Alice, Brown.
You never see it coming. But at first it wasn't really a problem for them because they just kind of interacted in society as usual. They blended, right? They didn't really stand out. They didn't look different. They didn't dress different. They're not part of the Warren Jeffs crowd. They've made that abundantly clear.
It was interesting to hear about how some polygamists live in a smaller community that's more cut off from the rest of society so that they can be more open with each other. And they're talking about how they didn't live like that, but then the kids kind of had that experience because they went to the church school, because a lot of this chapter ends up being about Leon.
Mm-hmm. And most of Meri's chapters end up being a lot about Leon because true. Meri doesn't have anything to talk about if she's talking about herself. She has to talk about the things that Leon's planning to do eventually in life. It's things that we have to look forward to. Leon has limitless potential. Meri has she's past her prime, so to speak. I think that just speaks to the mentality of most religions, though. It does well in an insular society. Like, you have to have a social structure where there's limited outside ideologies that are introduced so that nothing is questioned and everything just moves along as it's supposed to.
It's funny because in Christine's book, she talks about very, very briefly, was I in a cult? I don't know. I don't really think so. But doesn't this pretty much describe exactly what a cult is? The fear of the outside world, the encouragement of being insular, even though I guess the way the Browns were living wasn't totally like that because they did go out into society to work.
And then later, as part of the Vegas move and stuff,
well, yeah, as part of the show, once they were out, they're out. You're not within an insular community once you go on a television show and talk about your life.
They thought that they could. They thought they could do both for a minute, and then they realized very quickly it's not possible.
There's a really long story about a friend that she had that had a wedding and invited her, but this friend was LDS and didn't understand that Meri wasn't going to be able to come to the wedding because of the differences in religious beliefs and the fact that she wasn't LDS and Kody isn't either. And then Kody encourages her to come out and tell this friend the truth because she feels bad that she's almost been lying and she's going to have to come up with some really shitty excuse about why she can't go to the wedding. And then the friends don't really care.
These were such dear friends. We saw them in maybe one scene of Sister Wives that Meri can recollect. Can't really name it as far as what was going on or anything, and never saw or heard from them ever again. So, dear.
That's like a lot of Meri's friends, though.
Near and dear to everyone's heart, particularly Meri, mostly just embarrassed on how do I deal with this social interaction that I've kind of set up here as part of my deception about being a polygamous wife.
They keep worrying, though, that coming out and doing the show is going to cause there to be some major backlash against them, that people won't accept them, that's the fear associated with doing it. But then every time they tell a story about coming clean to someone, about their lifestyle, those people don't care. So it's almost like that fear is not really ever reinforced.
It's all in their head. Yeah, and it's from their community, too, where it's like, hey, if you do tell people outside this community about what you do in your life, you will be rejected. You will be completely
shunned. You'll lose all of these people that you've established relationships with. You'll lose your job.
But like none of that ever happens.
At least not for the Browns.
No, and it's like it seems like the more that you turn away from it, maybe the issue becomes like within that community, because we didn't really get a lot of support from them after they went public on the show. If anything, it was highlighting some of the scrutiny that they were facing from the church too, because they were getting bad edits on the promos that they were deciding to cut.
Yeah, they're going to, of course, push the salacious stuff that's going to get people to watch. That's not what they thought they signed up for. Were you surprised that Kody was the one who pushed for the show?
No. Like, that makes the most sense that he would be absolutely on board with this.
And also why he is so deluded to think that he is the star of the show. Because they've said that a couple of times, different wives. And I don't know if it was in this book or just on the show generally. But he really does think the show's about him, even though it's called Sister Wives.
Well, he doesn't want to be on Brother Husbands.
Not for now. Never know about the future when the money runs out.
The vulgarity of that, it's offensive.
They meet Tim Gibbons, who ends up being the producer of Sister Wives. And they're talking about this idea of this show. And finally, they're able to get Meri on board.
I laughed so much because I kept highlighting the different ways that Meri was talking about the show, because she was talking about when they met Tim Gibbons. The idea of doing a television program was introduced to us. And then she was talking about interested in doing a reality program about our family. A program. That's what this is. It's a documentary series. Educational program.
She was hitting that thesaurus button over and over and over again.
I think that's what it was.
How else do I say show?
Yeah, show. How else can I describe this? But then if you say it different every single time, then it feels like it becomes more apparent that you are using different terminology to say it. If she just said the show, yes, we know what you're talking about.
We all know. We watched the show, which is why we were interested enough to buy the book.
Well, the fact that you're calling it the show, like, just refer to it as the show then, because she does do that too at some point, doing the show. So, like, yeah, if you
Corey,
just say
it is
that,
hard to become a New York Times #1 bestseller
without a thesaurus, is what you're saying? Because
there's a lot of work that goes into this.
She overworked it.
You've got to expand your vocabulary.
A reality program. So be sure to tune in.
I love how she was just hoping that this would be another one of Kody's ridiculous ideas that he eventually stopped talking about. So she just kind of didn't have a whole lot to say at first, because this may be a fleeting thing.
Well, Meri, I love that take, though, because that's the exact same way that I was viewing Paedon's illustrations on our live stream last night. So,
yeah. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, Paedon is ready to become an author in his own right, and he is working on a children's book that is being, right now, currently illustrated by ChatGPT because he can't find an illustrator to work with.
Well, he's looking for a professional illustrator.
Who's going to want to be
associated
with working with him on a children's book?
Need to read the draft first, because we got to know what concepts we're covering here. A little sketchy.
I'm worried about the lessons he has to impart on youth.
Just in general.
Yes.
Just, the mass quantities of youth. very concerned. So Meri thought that this was going to be like another passing, fleeting sort of project for Kody to obsess over and then just let it sort of fizzle out. Problem is, she made that same mistake with Robin. She got all excited. She was bonding with Kody about it, got on board.
She pushed Robin right into Cody's lap.
I mean, she really did. And then we end up with like the same spiritual calling moments here too, where of course Cody's on board with the show first. He had the spiritual calling, the spiritual revelation that they need to be part of the show, probably from a financial reason and standpoint. Very important to be part of the show.
When you think about it too, because they eventually shopped this around, not that they knew what network it was going to end up at the beginning, because that's not how TV's made, but they had to be looking around and seeing that there were a lot of really big families on television who had these, multiple season deals. The Duggars get mentioned.
Yeah, Janelle was talking about the Duggars specifically with 19 kids and counting.
John and Kate +8. Mostly the TLC crowd, but they had to be smelling money.
There's potential here, but then there's drawbacks too, because again, Meri doesn't want to be judged for her decisions. So how's she going to live her life publicly and openly on television through this reality TV program?
Also the kids. We got to think of the kids. How's this going to change their lives? That really should have been the primary conversation. But I guess they think they're also doing it for the kids because they are not really able to be fully transparent about their life at home in public.
Allegedly, even though it's like they don't really face a lot of scrutiny over it either, because in Utah, in their community, there's not a lot of outside influence either. The kids weren't going to public school. Like we said, it was already very insular just as part of the Brown family. So this larger scale mission that they kind of take on here is that, we have to destigmatize polygamy in general, because there are dozens of us who live polygamy not in the Warren Jeffs way. It needs to be distinguished and separated and disassociated from all of these terrible examples that most people are associating with that.
They're not talking at all about the fact that they end up pushing for legislation to be changed within Utah so that polygamists aren't being targeted by the government there. So it's odd that that doesn't come up as a driving factor for starting the show.
We seem to, just peruse on by that. So maybe that hadn't happened yet, or it was already coming back in appeals and they didn't want to bring it up because there's no guarantees that it was going to stick around. And eventually it ended up making things worse for polygamists in Utah, unfortunately, because it was struck down on appeals.
Yeah. Also, I guess if they hadn't filed the case yet, then you don't really want to give people the heads up that you're going to be filing a lawsuit against the state. Anyway, let's move on. What is this? Isn't this where we get into the section all about Leon?
Kind of. I had a couple other things that I highlighted too.
Okay.
The strong indication from God is what Meri needed. So I guess she eventually found that as a reason, because the reason was she needed to support her husband. So that was her calling.
She's a woman who stands behind her man.
Kody wants to do this so bad. I guess I should step up and support him as best I can.
We'll just sacrifice, the life that we've lived until now and what our future could be so that we can go on this dream journey with Kody and support him.
Yeah. The delusion. We're going to jump on board with the delusion. And then I did highlight also, secrecy breeds evil and unhappiness. I think she was talking about polygamy, but I also saw some catfish similarities in there as well.
Oh.
So, that just kind of rings true in other ways now with the lens that we have in the future here.
I don't even know if you have to dig that deep. It also just reminds me of the fact that they weren't honest about what was really going on in their relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And they kept that a secret. And eventually they could not anymore because it became so dark and toxic.
It comes out eventually, yeah.
I want to tread lightly on the Leon section because obviously a lot has changed for Leon, and Meri's really bragging it up about how they're going to live polygamy most likely. And this is a mission to ensure that the future is going to be a more accommodating place for polygamists so that Leon can live in that world.
I don't know if it was all that. Like, the parts that I was picking up on was how Meri was like wishing for Leon to get out there and experience the world, because Leon didn't really have that lens. It was that insulated view of society, not even realizing there are people with different opinions and who can view the world differently. And so even though there can be opposition to your choices, in this case, it was for religion and potentially how they would decide to be married and like what that family structure would look like. But ultimately, a lot of those lessons carry over into what Leon has to deal with now.
I thought that too. There were a lot of parallels between like the circumstance Meri's talking about and then the circumstance that Leon is in. Like
talking about Meri's pointing out like the cruelty and the fear that can kind of cut into that enjoyment of life, experiencing other people's intolerance. So it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that still applies. So I think that was why we were so frustrated with Meri, with Leon first coming out too, was where there was not that support. There was kind of a pull back sort of that happened where it's like all of these things that you were saying, you were talking about religion at that point. But if you take all of that same message and apply it to the circumstance that we're in right now, it's still applicable.
I want the world to be a safe and tolerant place for them.
Yeah. Like, no matter what, depending on whatever the choices are, yes, and how they choose to live their life. It should be that way.
Then the cameras show up and they actually start filming this show. And Meri's starting to realize that it's kind of weird. It's not really normal to have cameras follow you around your house all day and watch you do what you thought were mundane tasks.
I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know.
She's applying makeup. That's what she's doing with them. She's very worried about being seen on camera without makeup on.
Car drove real good. Car drove real good. It was difficult to behave naturally. Is this the same stage fright that Robin was talking about, where she has difficulty parenting other children when other parents are around? Was that sort of the same thing, where now that there's eyes on Meri, so she's kind of double guessing all of her initial reactions? Because then I feel like that's the duality of Sister Wives, is where you want to show the world, hey, we're just a normal, typical family, but also there's probably some toxic shit that would normally be my initial reaction that I would go to. And I don't want to do that now because cameras are around and that would look bad. You have to be thinking about how this looks publicly.
Oh, she's worried about being judged.
Constantly.
Not only are you thinking about what's the final product of the show going to look like and how you're going to be judged by the audience, but you have the immediate reaction of having a person behind a camera and somebody with a boom mic, like a whole crew of people walking around following you as you're having conversations and interacting with each other during the day.
And she did mention that the crew was good about there are private issues, things that they decided not to share publicly, that the crew was very mindful of. So if they did have those private issues every once in a while that would pop up, then the crew would excuse themselves. They would leave them to discuss things off camera, which that's very nice. That's very respectful. They probably left their mic packs on, though.
You have a jinx moment.
It's hot mics.
I don't believe her that she barely modified her behavior for the cameras, that she really tried to authentically be herself, because we have heard about who Meri is when she is authentically herself. And she sounds like a terrible human being.
Meri pops off. Like, that seems to be the case. And I mean, we did get a few instances of that on camera throughout the series, but not to the extent that we saw, even just from Christine's examples in the new book, too. So it's stuff to be aware of. Meri's trying to say she doesn't hold back, even on TV, but I think she was filtering a lot of reactions.
Now we know all the things she lied about on television.
Come on.
To keep them secret. So all null and void. I don't care about anything that she has to say.
No.
When it comes to how honest they were on camera.
But we did get to the couch sessions the discovery here of, oh boy, if you put all 5 of us on a couch and then you start asking us questions, some shit's going to come to light. Okay. Like,
forcing us to talk as a group doesn't go very well.
You're asking me to answer like nobody else is around. It's just going to upset some people. Because normally what I do, for being totally honest, I blame other people. Okay. I feel like that's a big part of it, was that they didn't realize, oh, sometimes I like throw other people under the bus. Because we saw Meri do that in later seasons where she would blame, oh, Christine wants it that way, when they were decorating for Thanksgiving
episode where she was trying to make the excuse for why the tables got moved around.
Yeah, because Kody wanted them a certain way, and then he came in and they had been moved around, and so Meri was like, oh, Christine wanted it that way. And so then Christine's just over there like, dude, what the hell?
Things were so bad between Kody and Christine at that point that she was just like, also, sure, pile it on.
Also, she didn't care. But yeah, because Meri was still like trying to claw her way back. Things were bad between her and Kody. So sometimes it's easier for Kody to just be mad at another wife instead of being mad at me. That was a general thing that just kind of would pop up every once in a while. So this became their public form of therapy, as they called it, which I didn't like that because y'all need some real therapy.
Just having to voice the issues that you have with one another isn't a therapy session. Like you're saying, you're not actually working through an issue in real time with a professional who can help you to communicate with one another.
But they saw that as enough. Overcoming initial struggles is what she credits them with, just from talking about things on the couch, mentioning things in passing, getting upset at each other, and then just bulldozing over those feelings and ignoring them, squashing them back down again. Because I don't think anything was ever resolved.
Well, you can't make any progress on an issue you have if you don't actually say that you have the issue.
Because, like, so did they?
Kudos for starting at the very first step. But like you said, did you ever get to the end?
Did you continue?
You just kind of put it out in the open. So you knew that it was something that was happening. But then you just kind of all lived in it, soaked in it, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then they matured through that. There's been a lot of development as a family, except for the honeymoon episode. We cannot get past the honeymoon episode. Nobody wants to go back and watch that except for us, I guess.
Nobody's watched it. Christine did not watch it. Meri did not watch it. Janelle says she did not watch it.
It's a good episode, you guys.
Didn't a lot of people also miss it because it was a bonus episode?
Yeah, it was like an in-between. It's at the end of season 1 now, so it is a little bit easier to catch on a rewatch. Well, until they pull it. But like seasons 2 through 4, thanks a lot, guys.
That's on the Max app if you guys are
what a bummer.
Wondering. If you want access to all of the episodes of Sister Wives, we've been advised that you should subscribe to Discovery Plus.
So we're making note. We'll be making adjustments soon.
The show doesn't even start yet. So they filmed it, it's wrapped, it's ready to go. And a local newspaper, writes a story about how they're going to be on this reality show. And it really fucks things up for Meri.
You know, Meri had talked about being on a reality television program with her immediate supervisor at work, who then Meri assumed that immediate supervisor then took that to upper management, clued them in on the whole situation, and everybody's in the know. We're good to go. No worries, no complaints for 6 weeks. And then the day after the series premiere, they find out that the Fleehi City Police Department is investigating their family. And so very quickly, Meri is pulled into the office and fired subsequently for that.
I have so much to say about this. Starting with her blaming the local newspaper. Did you think that the show was not going to be on national television and that people that you worked with weren't going to see it and say, hey, I work with her? And then they were going to piece it together because she doesn't go and tell them about it until after this newspaper article comes out.
No, I think it was before because Janelle's might have been after.
So then the supervisor didn't tell anybody?
That's what I'm assuming. Because Meri seemed to be under the impression she spoke with her immediate supervisor about it. And then they had discussions with upper management. Sometimes that doesn't get up the ladder, Meri.
It's a big deal when you go on a television show and you work, especially in a job like this. She's still working at the time with at-risk youth.
They're trying to say that it's not the show because I don't think that they would be able to fire her on those grounds. So they have to say it's because the Fleehi City Police Department is investigating you. They did a press conference about investigating you.
This is another thing that I want to address because I don't know, is that legal?
Can you fire someone for the suspicion?
Preemptively firing her because they're worried that the police department may show up there to ask questions about her. But that hasn't happened. It hasn't interfered with her job.
Yeah, it seems like they didn't let that go enough. I mean, like, I get that they're concerned she was working with at-risk youth. They didn't want people showing up there, but it's just like, it seems like that's not the whole part of it too. The other thing that bothers me is where it's the investigation, because this is the same thing. The Fleehi City Police Department announced that they were investigating, not prosecuting, not charging. They're investigating. And that was enough for them, because then Meri does use words like, oh, the kids at school were hearing from their classmates about how their dad was being prosecuted. Wrong. You're being investigated, not prosecuted. That's
You're gonna
different.
have the kids go into school and teach them a thing or two about legal vocabulary.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, I think the parents got that in their heads too, because they were like, the police are after us. We need to get out of here.
Well, I mean, they are technically, they know that what they're doing is prosecutable.
Okay.
That may or may not have been a word.
I don't know.
Because they are married to each other.
Spiritually. What does that mean?
I guess it's not legally.
Bigamy is the crime. And if you're not filing, if you don't have legal marriages.
They're definitely cohabitating.
Yeah, but like in different parts of a shared living domicile. This is my private domicile.
Because I don't remember what the law was at the time, but when they have the flip-flop that happens where they win their case and then it gets appealed and then they lose, part of the problem was they revised the law so that now cohabitation is part of what they're able to convict you on.
Yep.
So,
yes, made it worse.
The way they were living in that house together would indicate that there was something going on that maybe skirts bigamy.
See, if you just left it alone, if you didn't freak out and flee the state and then try to change the laws in a
state you don't live in anymore?
State that you don't even participate in as a resident anymore, because we're just going to move away. That'll be the best thing to do. But nothing like throwing rocks at the windows as you're driving away, I guess, in that sort of sense. General consensus was Fleehi move, wouldn't recommend.
Wasn't great.
Don't we know it?
The kid's not really a fan, but in the end, it was good for them because they got to live someplace that's more diverse and has exposed them to more than they ever would have been able to see just living in Utah around other Mormons.
So many new friends, all from different faiths and backgrounds. So much acceptance, no judgment. It's all very good in the end, and it is wonderful to live open in public. That's the main takeaway here.
I do wonder if it was such a positive thing for the adults because they got to be out in the open about who they were, that maybe that influenced how they saw the kids' experience.
Oh, like it was good for the parents, so by proxy, it was good for the kids too?
Even if they're not consciously making that connection, because I want to know from the kids how they felt about it.
I think it was good for the kids, ultimately.
Well, was it the move that was good for the kids, or was it the fact that they ended up in the cul-de-sac?
When they get to Vegas and they get settled in, that is when it is good. The move was real bad. That was very, very difficult, very, very rough.
Yeah, they also kind of just glaze over all of that in-between time in Vegas when, well, they're actually not in the cul-de-sac yet, right, as of writing the book.
Right.
But they didn't really enjoy being in all those separate houses far away from each other.
I don't know, because didn't Robin gave birth? She was talking about Saul. She gave birth in the cul-de-sac.
No, the original house.
Oh, no. She gave birth in a rental?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, there you go.
Right? That was and then baby Saul was here. He helped build the house.
Oh, he did. Right.
He worked on all the plans.
From the ground up.
From all 4 houses.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what was going on. You know what else is great about living a public life like this? You get to meet Matthew McConaughey. And for Meri, that's very important.
This is true Meri. Her colors coming out. She has to mention that Robin and Christy ruined the moment for her, though.
She really got blue balls. Yeah. In the room there, because then Christine and Robin were joking about it, giggling away because they knew that Meri has a crush on Matthew McConaughey. They also met Ellen and Rosie O'Donnell and Oprah, but Meri was way less horny when those meetings occurred.
We should go back and try to look up those interviews. I don't think I ever saw them on Oprah.
I don't know if they got interviews. She met these people.
Oh, they met them in a hallway somewhere.
Maybe. Could have been. Did they actually go on all those shows? I don't know.
It was like, man, this is some publicity tour. Guess not.
Covering all the bases. Yeah, daytime TV. Daytime television programming.
It was laughable that she claims people come up to her and tell her she's the favorite wife. Their favorite wife, not Kody's favorite wife.
Oh,
I mean, that's
clearly.
been clear from everyone,
yeah, I think,
for us all from the beginning.
Yeah, that's just a real slap in the face.
But there's also the negativity of what they have to deal with being on television. There's always someone who has something unpleasant to say about her marriage. That will go on for many, many, many years.
Well, and then it's people telling you to get out of your marriage. Then you get frustrated with that. And then you do get out of your marriage. And then you're like, boy, that was the best thing I've done. And it's like, well, yeah, we told you to do that 10 years ago and you didn't listen.
And also, I'm not going to say anything else about that. Meri's made it very clear that she is not writing us a tell-all.
No, it's because she's learned so much about patience and kindness and forgiveness, which those are all very necessary things as part of doing this show. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to do it the way that they are here so successfully, wildly successful. The last thing I'll call out with Meri was I thought it was very interesting when she said about how the show has unified them as a family and how they're such a tightly knit group. We don't let anyone breach our boundaries because together we exhibit strength in numbers, unity, and also no outsiders. It's like this same sort of division where it's like now your insular group is your family and the rest of the world.
Ooh, it's very Plath-like.
It's kind of Plathy, but then also just that is like that was the environment that they grew up in religiously, and now they're just applying it to their family because your family has to have common enemies. So any of the haters, any of the people who are poo-pooing on your show, those are people that you can rally against and say, well, you don't understand. You don't know my family. So it does unify. It does accomplish all these things that Meri's saying. I don't doubt that. I just thought it was interesting to kind of not make that comparison and tie it back to the religious roots where that was where a lot of it came from. Those closed fundamental societies where everything's accepted because everybody agrees and thinks the same way.
Yeah, they tend to miss when there's an opportunity to connect the dots. Chapter 14, Janelle. Janelle!
Different Janelle, but it's just Janelle and Meri need to scramble up their writing outlines that they have because it was, again, the same checklist.
It's so repetitive. Maybe, like you said, don't put it in the exact same order.
Something. Or if you're going to break it up that way where everybody has that, then go by topic and then bounce between different takes of like who's discussing it there. You can alternate that instead if you're going to sort it by topic like that.
Or like maybe the rest of the book made sense to have a voice for each individual because it was about their unique like relationships. But now we've gotten to the point in the book where we're talking about something that is a universal experience for them. And so perhaps we don't need them each to have their own chapter.
Yeah, we can kind of go by
maybe
change
we can
it up
diverge from that plan
a little bit. I mean, same structure where you could still label it out of who's writing because we kind of bounce back and forth between like Kody and whichever wife chapter it was for the marriage stuff. So like that sort of approach, you probably could have done that where we alternated out between takes. So then that way it's just more topically driven. I feel like that would have been a better way to organize it. But Janelle has that same, it's the cultural fear. It's the outside world, big, bad, scary.
Yeah, but she's unique in that she was LDS before she converted to join the family. Mm-hmm. So she feels like she's able to get by hiding behind the fact that she at least knows, she knows the nomenclature.
She knows enough. Yeah, where it's like everybody just assumes you're LDS, especially if you don't drink alcohol and you don't drink coffee. So that's where she was like, I can just kind of blend here and just sort of not correct anybody's mistaken assumption about my religious beliefs.
When you think about Janelle's personality, and I do feel like she's kind of a closed off person, or at least a much more private person than some of the other wives are, just personality wise, even today. Thinking about her being in this world where she can't be honest fully about who she is, that makes a lot of sense. Like maybe that has more so informed her personality than the other way around, than it being inherent to her nature.
I see what you're saying. Like it's just been, that has been her status for so long that it's just kind of become part of her identity in that way.
Something, how you've approached the world your entire adult life.
She doesn't know how to navigate it any other way. Well, maybe you could seek professional counseling for some of these things at some point. No. That will annoy Kody. So we're not going to do that. Don't do that. No, that was what she was talking about. The concerns that she had before the show aired, where it was just constantly weighing on her, where she was worrying, panic and anxiety were setting in. And she was like, maybe I should talk to somebody about this. And Cody's like, don't do that. You just need to think positive.
I think she kind of disassociated the whole time that they were filming the show, or she got distracted by things. Janelle likes to get herself involved in a project, and then she's so involved in trying to learn all the pieces of it that she doesn't really pay much attention to like what's going to happen when the project ends.
That's that ADHD brain, baby. Yeah, that's me looking up all sorts of stuff and then realizing it's 3:00 in the morning and I didn't eat dinner. Uh-oh.
Well, she did that for the entire season.
I am distracted. Yes, that has happened now.
And it turns out when you film a TV show and it gets picked up after the pilot, they will air it at some point. So it's going to be on television and there's no turning back. And now she's starting to get really, really upset about it. So
she started drinking coffee to throw her coworkers off to the fact that
maybe the promos for the show are going to be the thing that lets the cat out of the bag. Not that the coffee isn't going to cover it up anymore.
She's like, okay, they're going to find out clearly, but like I have to ease them into this. So like, how can I just casually sort of prep them for I'm not a member of the LDS faith. So I'm going to start drinking coffee just to get them
soft launching it.
Yeah. Just to get them used to this, throw them a little curveball, keep them on their toes. Then they'll know, all right, not LDS. What is Janelle?
Also, the pure lack of thought that goes into anything they do. She has a government job. She works for the state of Utah. And now they're going to go on TV talking about being polygamists. And she's realizing that her job is probably going to be at stake now. And her job, her career has been her entire identity. It's something that she loves doing. She likes this job. She wants to keep it. So maybe going on the show wasn't the best thing for her career.
So she waited till the last minute that she could, because they were going to go publicly announce by leaving for California. So they would be at the Television Critics Association announcing the show. So the day before they left for that, she went and told her supervisors the truth about what was going on. They said, holy crap, we need to call in HR. HR, turns out, don't really give a shit. Pretty lax, don't really care.
No, I believe HR did what they were required to do legally.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think HR was throwing her a bone because they liked her and they didn't think it was a big deal.
Janelle seemed to be very convinced that they were very open-minded about this. I think
that's her interpretation of it. I think they're referring to the law and they're worried about how will we get sued if we fire Janelle today?
Yes.
And so they kept you on the payroll until you fled Fleehi.
There used to be constitutional protections for stuff like this. And so as soon as she brought up religion as a part of it, then they were like, whoa, okay, yeah, we're not firing her. Okay, we're all on the same page about that, right?
That's what I believe happened.
So she was like, okay, good, thank goodness. I think that was her only concern. So anything else aside from that was a win.
I want to know, is there no constitutional law class that's provided to polygamists? They're not teaching that in their home schools? Because you would think if you are worried about being discriminated against for your religion and how you live your life, that you should probably be well educated about the things that should and should not be done or can and cannot be done legally. And I'm not trying to be naive, because obviously things happen every day at people, especially in career places.
Well, yeah. And I mean,
that are not done the way that they should be done legally.
Well, we watched the, what was that? The second season of Shiny Happy People. So we know that the homeschooling religious crowd, usually they're not really learning about the Constitution. They're learning about how to rewrite it. So
I don't know. Are the fundamentalist Mormons onto that?
No. So like, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
they've
they're
got
not really
another fight to fight first before they get there.
Different. Yeah, I guess. Did you get confused when the journalist was asking about Tom Green?
Yes.
Because I was like, what does Freddie Got Fingered have to do with this?
I remember from the first time that I read the book that I was confused by that initially. And then I was like, oh, he must be some horrible, they do go on to talk about how horrible this human being was.
Yeah, a criminal.
I don't know. A
criminal, and it's a repulsive comparison is Janelle's main takeaway here. I didn't think his work was that bad.
Oh, God.
But I don't think we're talking about the same Tom Green, is my understanding. Isn't that his name?
Yes.
Right? I'm not crazy, right?
No, you're not
That's
crazy.
who I was thinking of.
Maybe when you Google, you'll get the Tom Green they're talking about.
I search everything on IMDb. So that is exactly who came up for me, was Tom Green, the Tom Green that I know. I forgot he was in Charlie's Angels.
Well, that's because he was married to Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. There's a fun fact for anyone who cares about who the hell Tom Green was.
The real Tom Green.
Janelle's just appalled by what it's like to go on a publicity tour where people ask you questions, because she feels like the journalists that they're interacting with are asking them questions that they would never ask other people.
Well, what was funny was it was their publicist who had to step in on some stuff and be offended for them, because they didn't even know how to not answer those types of questions.
Because they have like no media training.
Yeah.
Aside from Christine, who has a little bit from that group that she was part of.
A little bit.
So there's a publicist going with them on these publicity tours who's just waiting for them to freeze up and not be able to answer something so that she can step in and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why would you ask something like that? Why not just say that those types of questions are off limits? I guess they could still ask whatever they want, but
usually it's
do you
better.
have that much sway when you're a D-list TLC wannabe star who hasn't even had a season air yet?
Yeah, season 1 TLC show. You don't have any rights at this point. We know that.
Then it gets worse because they have a soundbite from the show that they use, and it's the clip where they're talking about the bedroom and how they don't get weird. But they don't play that part, so nobody knows what the answer is going to be. So they're trying to build up the anticipation of, are these people sleeping with each other? Like, what actually is the family dynamic here? And they're offended that that's how they're selling the show to people.
And then their church gets upset that they're seeing these promotional clips. And then also the church finds out, oh, you guys intend to film Robin's wedding reception too? We're not cool with that.
Yeah, so the church is scared that it's not just the reception that they're filming, that they're going to film the ceremony, or they're going to talk about the ceremony, which they're not allowed to do. And so they have to promise, they're swearing left and right, up and down, that there's no way that we're talking about that. We understand the rules. We're just having a wedding reception, and that's the only thing that's going to be on camera and the only thing we're going to talk about.
They thought it was going to be sensationalized. Juicy.
I wouldn't say this show has been sensationalized over the years.
If anything, it's subdued. Like, you're not drumming anything up.
They must love how the last few seasons played out. Why did she think that they were making the Duggar show? They thought they were making 16 kids and counting, or 19 kids and counting.
Yeah. She thought it was just going to be shiny, happy people stuff, not actually confronting any of our own problems.
Maybe they were trying to make that show at first, but then they realized how dysfunctional they were, the producers did. And they started digging and asking more questions, and they added the couch interviews, and it all kind of unraveled, and they realized that's the story.
Yeah, because we get to that part of Janelle's summary here, or the writing outline of the couch interviews, and how it led to so many misunderstandings within their family. She was talking about how upset Christine was when Kody announced that he picked Robin's dress, how it looked like she just needed a minute to calm down. Then she came back and finished that interview. She actually stepped off the set for about 3 days. So it took a minute to sort of calm down and come back to this. And then she credits Robin with all of the particularly difficult conversations that need to take place. She doesn't allow anyone to leave the room until things are addressed, which again is kidnapping, I might add.
That's the crime that's been committed in this family.
Multiple times. That's what the Fleehi PD should be investigating.
Not something to praise. They always hold that up throughout this book as, wow, how great that Robin made sure we stayed in a room together to talk things out. Even when we weren't ready to do so or weren't calm enough to have a rational conversation, she held us captive.
Until we figured things out. And again, did you reach a general consensus? Did you come to a common ground conclusion there? It doesn't seem like a lot of things were resolved. So if it was just agree to disagree and then left alone, never addressed again, is that constructive? How constructive is that?
Part of the problem is that being on TV, they're seeing things that they would never really see. It's a window into what's going on in your sister wife's home next door.
My sister wife's closet.
Your sister wife's closet, if you will. And that's been a real problem for all of them, but Janelle's talking about it a bit here. She doesn't want to know what's going on between Kody and another wife in their private time. And I highlighted that because in Christine's book, she talks about Robin getting involved in something that was going on between her and Kody in the bedroom that Robin somehow knew about.
Interesting.
And then felt like it was her place to come to Christine and address.
Pretty gross, but okay. She locked her in a room and did not allow her to leave until she answered the questions. Perhaps some waterboarding was involved. Maybe. Get the baby oil. You're going to need it. But no, you know what the real problem is? It's not a communication problem. It's just Janelle needs to squash that impulse of trying to compare her marriage to her sister wives. So if she does see any of this inequality, just close your eyes and turn away from the screen, because that's just going to cause more problems where you're going to be upset.
You know, I have a feeling that that advice is coming from Kody Wynn Brown a lot of the time, that just stop. It's a problem when you feel the need to compare yourself to what your other sister wives are, what your other sister wives have. Do less, because then I will spend more time with you.
Fight that impulse to compare. Don't let it in.
Then the police investigation starts. We have to address that because everybody's going to talk about it, but not from their own unique perspective, because they all experienced the same thing, I guess.
Oh, you missed. She had a whole entire paragraph about travel, too, in between here, because Meri talked about all the great things about travel with the press tour. So, of course, Janelle had to mention that, too. She likes to travel, but maybe not to the extent that Meri does as well, because it's just been kind of thrown in here as an afterthought, some page filler.
Not really a vacation for Janelle to travel.
Not so much.
No.
It's all for work.
She would love to cross the country in an RV, though.
Yeah, that she didn't mention as part of this. She didn't see that vision in her future yet.
You can't do that on a press tour because that takes too long.
Way too long.
The police investigation, so they find out that it started after they were at that Television Critics Association thing where they talked about being on the show and I guess premiered the trailer. That happened in September. Then they find out that they're being investigated, right? Didn't the investigation, they announced that sometime in October, November?
It was right after the show aired. Yeah.
They don't move until January.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, how worried were you?
Well, and that's the part, too. We introduced the show in September, and by November, it was clear that we were going to have to leave Utah or risk the safety of our family. So then it still took you 2 months because in November you were like, it is dangerous to be here right now. We need to get out of here. Probably give it another 2 months.
Also, Meri lost her job. So she's home. Janelle did not.
Janelle didn't lose her job until they fled, and then they land in Vegas, and then she's unemployed.
I'm going to give Christine a break because she's got a baby at home. Robin's useless. And then I don't think Kody was Kody working?
Cody was always
outside
doing
of
sales.
this?
Yeah,
Sure.
always doing sales.
Sure.
Selling.
Really busy.
Selling neon signs.
For how poorly that move was planned and organized, it is unfathomable that they had 2 months where they knew since November, that's it, we have to get out of here. And then they packed everything up like they had to do it in the middle of the night.
Everything happens for a reason, though, is Janelle's takeaway.
Even though things get a lot worse for Janelle after they leave, because she didn't lose her job when the show got announced and aired, but she does have to leave her job because of the move. And so when they get to Vegas, she's in this in-between stage again where she's not used to not having work to go to. She's a full-time stay-at-home mom for the first time in her life, really. And she's not getting along with Kody.
It is not going well. She's having a full-fledged identity crisis, is how she described it. Everybody's lives are in complete and total upheaval. Kody was just as lost as Janelle was, too, because I'm sure he was looking for work as well. That was something that they shared in common. So everybody in the family is out of a job. The only income that you had was from the show, which I'm sure they blew through a lot of that. Did they sign their second year contracts in the midst of that where they were able to get a cash advance for some of this stuff? I don't know.
I don't think so. She said when they moved, they didn't even know if the show was going to continue.
Right. And I mean, Janelle was the one who was wheeling and dealing on those contracts, but so maybe she was able to work something out. But the thing that she was calling out too was how when Janelle was down about this, she was, I mean, pretty depressed and upset in Vegas. Kody normally would lift her spirits, but instead, since he was kind of in a bad place too, he just sunk down with her. So then you're really in a bad spot then at that point.
Kody always talks about Vegas being a renaissance for them, but it did not start out that way.
Well,
from what we're hearing from her.
Yeah, that was what Janelle was saying, is like you had to hit bottom first in order to build back something better, because they really tore it down to the studs here for the relationship makeover U-Haul. U-Haul? The U-Haul was part of the Fleehi move.
You know, the thing that gets them past this really difficult part in their marriage where they're actually looking at each other and going, did we even marry the right people? Should we maybe end this? Is that one day she decides she's just going to say something caring to Kody.
She has decided to make him feel good.
Maybe in more than one way.
Oh, baby.
I don't know.
She said something caring, and then he immediately responded, and that was all it took.
That has Robin written all over it.
Right?
You need to talk nicer to one another.
Talk sweeter.
Use different words.
Say something sweet to him, and then he'll be nice. Because, oh my God, if Janelle had said something nice to him, and then he was still in a bad mood and was a dick about it, it could have been over there.
That could have been the fuck you
that
see around the world on television.
Yeah, that could have been it. But it wouldn't have been on camera. It would have been a big problem. So it sounds like, I mean, like they did go through the rebuilding process, and Janelle had to warn Kody, hey, you're on thin ice though. So like, be careful.
Behave.
And then Kody has his demands about he needs more love and affection. So you know what that means. Even though it sounds like he was getting plenty of love and affection from Robin, because that was when Solomon was conceived, when they first landed in Vegas. As part of the Fleehi move.
They didn't even get into a house yet.
They weren't
in the rental.
No, yeah. They were in the temporary rental for like that 1 month. That was pretty much where it sounded like Kody was getting enough love and affection from Robin at that time.
I hope Christine talks about that in her book.
I don't know if she's backed in on the math.
Oh, come on.
How could you not know?
You guys were all up in a conception calculator figuring that out.
How could you not know? You are living in the same. Yeah, you had to hear that in that house.
Janelle must really warm up to being on TV because she wants to do the show until it runs its natural course, until people are bored with them or they're bored with doing the show. But she is here to continue being on television until that day comes.
It's fun, but when it's over, it's over. I don't know, Janelle. She might want to do a spinoff here. She might be in the mood for that.
I hope that when it's all over, we'll have changed people's perception of polygamy.
This show will be our legacy. Well, I guess kind of that's true for us, too, in terms of the podcast. The podcast is our legacy.
We're not giving this to no one we even know listens to this.
It's very true. My other favorite part of Janelle's section was when she specifically called out about how the only rule that she has is that her kids need to go to college. So they got her on the technicality there because Maddie didn't finish college, but she went to.
Just made it through the doors at one point. Enrolled, then promptly unenrolled.
See, you need to say graduate from college. You need to be more specific, Janelle. But she didn't set that as the instruction there. It was just go to college. So close enough.
That means we're going to finish this book out in the next episode, which will drop on Friday. We'll cover Christine and Robin's chapters, and then we'll do Kody's epilogue, which I guess they gave to him because he wasn't allowed to have his own celebrity chapter. But you know he wanted one.
I think that kind of sums up his entire involvement in this process for the book, for the show, for everything.
And once we're finished with Becoming Sister Wives, we are moving on to Sister Wife, a Memoir, which officially comes out on September 2nd.
Memoirs of a Geisha, Just Christine.
Memoirs from Just Christine. Thanks for listening. See you next time.